Hi guys, I'm Laura and welcome to Basic Makeup. Today I wanted to share a look from the Morphe 35O palette, which if you haven't seen it yet, this is it in all its glory. And I know a lot of people have gotten this over Christmas, whether a gift from a family member, their significant other, or a cheeky little gift for themselves. I just wanted to give a little bit more of a daytime appropriate inspiration for people that want to get as much use out as possible out of this palette. So I just went with something very classic, very sculpted, definitely something that you could wear to the office and no one would bat an eyelid. We're not going for full on glam here, it's all daytime appropriate. I kept the makeup muted around it, so it's mostly just focusing on the eyes, but I hope you guys enjoy the tutorial. So I've already prepped my skin and I'm just going in with eye primer. The one I'm using is the Urban Decay Primer Potion, which I use to create a base for my eyeshadow to stick to. And this keeps the eyeshadow crease free for up to 12 hours plus. It's a miracle worker. Before I go in with any colour, I'm just going to put down a base shadow from the Morphe 35O palette. And I'm just using the cream shade from the top left hand corner. And I'm just going to put this all over the brow bone down to the crease area, but I'm not taking it onto the lid. And I put that shadow down with the Morphe M433 brush. For the next shade, I'm going to be using my fluffiest brush, which is the M511 from Morphe. And I'm going to be going in with a light neutral brown shade. It's the third from the right on the top row. And with the shade, I'm just going to press if I turn this way, you'll be able to see better. I'm going to press the bottom of the brush, just where the crease meets the lid, and in small circular motions, I'm just going to blend this. And what this will create is our initial shape and gives us colour to blend into. Next, I'm going to take the M513 and I'm going to go in with a more, a warmer dark brown. And this is the second from the bottom on the left hand side. And this is just going to again be focused mostly in the crease and blended into the colour we've already placed. I want to try and keep the lid as clean as possible. That way you can avoid ending up with a smoky eye by accident. And if you'd like to, just go in with the brush used before, just to blend out the top of that shadow. Make sure it's blended properly so you don't create anything too harsh. If you blend as you go, you'll end up with a much softer look at the end. And then I'm going to take a smaller still blending brush. This is the M14 from Morphe, and I'm going to go into my darkest shade, which is a chocolatey brown in the very center of the palette. And again, this is going to be focused mostly in the crease, preferably staying as much in the outer crease as possible, so that we get that nice gradient that gives depth and opens up the eye. I'm going to go back in with the last brush we used with that middle brown shade and just blend that out a bit more. Now on the lid, I don't want this to be too glam, so I'm not going to put down any sticky bases or cream bases. I'm just going to use straight shadow on my lid, and I'm using a Real Techniques shading brush, and the eyeshadow that I'm going to use is the third in from the left on the top row of the palette. And I'm just going to blend this all over the lid. And just going in with a pencil brush. This is an old Sigma brush, it's the E30. I'm not sure if it's still called an E30, I've heard they've renumbered all their brushes, but I will put the correct number in the info box for you. But I'm going to take this brush and I'm going to go in with the mid-tone brown, the middle warm brown that we used. And I'm just going to run this along the outer V and along the lash line here, just so we can start closing this up. And the reason I do this after I've applied my lid shade is for, one, for better blending, and two, so that I can control it better, so that I, again, don't end up with a huge smoky eye if that's not what I'm going for. Because if you just go in with brown shadows and just blend it all over the place, it can be hard to clean up afterwards. It's always better to add as you go. And just on the same brush, I'm going to take that dark chocolatey brown shade, just a little bit, and just do the same, just to marry the gradient together. And I'm just going to take a touch more of the lid shade and just pop that on the center of the lid there, just to help a little bit more with blending. It's all about just going back and forth until you're happy with the effect. As you can see, I've gotten a bit of eyeshadow underneath here, a bit of fallout, so I'm just going to take a little cotton pad and some micellar water and just give that a quick clean up before we go on to the base makeup. Now the foundation I'm going to use is a hydrating long wear primer, but I want my skin to be a little bit glowy as well, so I'm going to go in with a illuminizing primer. This is the Backlight Priming Filter from Becca, and this is a sort of a thick illuminating primer that also helps with the wear time of your makeup. So I've just taken a pump of that on my fingers and I'm just gonna warm it a little in my hands and press it where I would like it to go. And then I'm gonna zoom you guys out because we're a bit too close for this stage. So I'm just going to let that primer sit on my skin for a little bit. I'm going to go in with my brow pomade from Anastasia. And the brush I'm using is from Inglot. It's the 17TL. It's just an angled brush. And I'm just going to get a bit of that on and quickly fill in my brows. I don't do anything too fancy with my brows. I mostly just follow the natural shape of them and just gives them a little bit of definition. Just follow where the roots naturally are of your brow hairs, and this will catch and just make them darker, and it'll make it look although you have more brows than you did when you started, but really you've just colored them. If you can see the difference between this brow and this brow, this one looks a lot denser, a lot more groomed. I'm not a huge fan of over made up brows. I just like brows to look neat and tidy, look a little bit fuller, not completely like marker brows. I'm not a big fan of marker brows. So the foundation that I'm using is Smashbox Studio Skin. This is in the shade 1.1, which appears to be a tiny bit dark for me and a tiny bit yellow, but we'll work with it and see what we can do. I'm just blending this out with a cosmetic sponge. It's just a generic one that you can pick up from Boots in a pack for like a couple of pounds. It's nothing special, but they're like my favourite thing to apply foundation with. When you're working with a sponge like this, it's so much easier to build up in layers. Brushes will cake up your makeup really fast if you're applying layers of foundation, layers of cream product, but with the moisture of the sponge, it just helps everything blend out so much nicer. Next I'm going to go in with a bit of under eye concealer. I'm using the L'Oreal Touche Magique in the shade Rose Beige. Again, I'm just blending this out with the same sponge. I do most of the blending with the sponge and then I go in with my finger just for the final pat. I always find the warmth of a finger just helps every under eye concealer just get into the nooks and crannies better. This would be the stage that you would go in with any additional cream products that you wanted to use, if you wanted to use a cream highlight or a cream bronzer or a cream blush, but that's not something that I am looking to do today, so I'm just going to go ahead and set my foundation with the No. 7 Perfect Light Loose Powder. And the brush I'm using is the M400 from Morphe. So I'm just going to get it on my brush and tap off the excess. And I'm just going to set where I would get oily and set under my eyes. I'm just using the remnants of what is on the bristles to set the rest of my face. I don't want my face to be too heavily powdered, especially not the nose area, because if you are a glasses wearer like I am, you'll know how quickly that area can cake up and foundation can move no matter how hard you try. There's just no magic cure for keeping foundation on your nose if you wear glasses. The only thing you can do is minimize the damage by not putting too much powder there. Finish up the under eyes, I'm going to go in with the mid-tone chocolate shade that we used. And on the Sigma blending pencil brush, I'm just going to run this on the outer third of the lower lash line. And I'm going to take the brush that we used for our lid shade and go in with the initial color that we used. It's okay if there's some of the lid shade still on this brush, it'll just sort of make it blend better. And I'm just using this to blend out that shade. Next I'm going to take the B83 from Morphe and I'm going to go in with the second to the left shade from the top row, and I'm going to use this to highlight my inner corner. Next I'm going to go in with a little bit of gel eyeliner just to fill it, just to finish up this portion of the eyes. I'm going to do the mascara last. This is the Maybelline Studio Gel Liner. It's nothing particularly fancy. I often find that most gel liners tend to work the same, regardless of price point. And the brush I'm using is the fine liner brush from Real Tech. If I'm honest, my favorite liner brushes are actually detailer brushes from craft shops. So if you want to play about with liner brushes, if you pop down to Hobbycraft and just get one of their like value sets of detailer brushes, they come with varying densities and fine tips and short, long, just so you can play about with them, because they're, I think the value set is like $2.50 or something for like 10 brushes that you get to play with, whereas this brush alone I think is like £8. Oh. So if you're just starting out, that is something I would recommend. Okay, I'm going to stop now before I fall into that trap and end up with eyeliner eating up half my lid. Next I'm just going to go in with some highlight. I'm just using a very natural highlight. This is Hourglass Luminous Lights, and the brush I'm using is a Morphe 509. Just going to get some of that on the brush there. Just pop it in the C area, just so that it catches in the light. I love Hourglass powders, especially for older women, more mature women, anyone who's like, I would say 35 plus, because it's just such a finely milled powder, and the shine that it gives off is very subtle and natural, and it's not garish. Like, we all like a strobing high beam highlight, but once you get past a certain age, it just ages you horrendously, and it's not worth, even though it looks like you feel awesome wearing it, it doesn't look pretty. For bronzer, I'm going in with Becca's Bali Sands. This is their Sunlit bronzer. The thing I love about this bronzer is it's a very light and sheer formula. So it's something that you can definitely build on, and you don't feel like you're going to go overboard. And the brush I'm using at the moment is the Real Techniques powder brush. I like to use a big fluffy brush for bronzer, just so that it applies and buffs and blends all at the same time. I will occasionally use a more precise brush if that's the look I'm going for, but just now I just want a bit of a all-round colour. And for blush, I'm going in with Lover's Blush from Estee Lauder, and I'm using the Morphe 403 blush brush. This is possibly one of my favourite blush brushes ever. I'm just going to start, I've just got the colour on one part of the brush here, and I'm just going to go from the hollow of the cheek and blend upwards. Focusing most of the colour on the back of the face here, and blending forward. This way I get the colour placement I desire, and I also get a nice sculpting effect. I'm a very big fan of sculpting with blush rather than contouring. And I'm just going to go back in with my powder brush and just blend that together, just so it's not too harsh or anything. Make sure everything's blended in. Now onto my lips. I'm just going to wipe off my lip balm. I've been using the Rev du Mel from Nuxe just for intense hydration. It's such a thick, thick balm. You should always remove your lip balm before you apply your lip product, otherwise your lip product won't stick, or probably won't stick. So I'm going to go in with a lip liner. This is a Borderline from Bare Minerals. It's one of their Gen Nude lip liners. And I'm not going to talk while I do this, because it's like, it's impossible. If you can do it, props to you. It's impossible for me. As you can see, I just kind of follow right on the edge of my natural lip line and then fill in my lips. I find this is the best way to line lips. And that way, as your lipstick wears off, you don't end up with that sort of 90s excessively harsh lip line. And the lipstick I'm using is Erotique from L'Oreal. Is one of their matte lipsticks. I actually got really excited when the colour Riche line got a huge makeover and they brought out tons of new shades and they had new matte formulas, and Erotique was one of them, and I fell in love with it. And then they came out with an entire range of matte lipsticks, which, oh my god, I was like jumping out my skin. Sounds silly, but when I find a lipstick formula I like, I get excited. I mostly focus on taking away the excess on the inner part of the lip in an attempt to stop lipstick getting on teeth. Don't necessarily know if it actually works, but since I've started doing it, I haven't had lipstick on my teeth. So, you know, make of it what you will. So lastly, I'm going to curl my lashes and put on some mascara. I'm going to do this off camera because I'm just applying mascara. Do you really want to sit and watch me put on mascara? No. So this is the finished look. I know it might be a little much for some people for the daily, but this is kind of look that I gravitate towards just naturally. A warm sculpted eye with a little bit of shimmer, a little bit of definition around the lash line, defined brows, and then just leave everything else still slightly muted. Muted blush, muted bronzer, muted highlight, a muted lip. Just let the eyes do everything. It makes me look so much more awake when really I want to be curled up in my bed. But obviously if you are short on time, you can skip whichever steps you deem unnecessary. If you don't want to wear bronzer, then you don't have to. If you want to skip the liner or the brow pomade, that's perfectly up to you. I just wanted to give a more daytime appropriate look idea for the 35O palette, and I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If there are any steps you think that I could have gone more into, or if there's any extra information you'd like to know, let me know in the comments below. I will leave all the products listed and linked in the info box, as well as in a blog post accompanying this video. That was a lot in one mouthful. I shouldn't really do that. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.